What happens when a swamp is trapped in a single tank for 120 days? To begin, I built the foundation of a living swamp, starting with deep, nutrient-heavy peat. Layered vibrant swamp moss, each piece carrying dormant organisms waiting to awaken. Next, I flooded the base to mimic a real wetland, letting water seep slowly through the soil. As the swamp formed, trapped gases began to escape, signaling microbial activity.
I planted sedges and microferns, species that thrive in constantly saturated mud.
A full-spectrum light would simulate the harsh humidity cycles of a freshwater marsh.
Minutes later, humidity climbed instantly, dew blanketing every surface. A layer of decaying leaves would fuel decomposers vital to swamp ecosystems.
I introduced springtails first, the tiny custodians that prevent mold from taking over.
Isopods soon followed, roaming the swamp bed like miniature armored scavengers.
With everything inside, I sealed the swamp. No escape, no air exchange, just time.
Within hours, microbial blooms appeared, transforming the water into a living haze. The moss responded immediately, swelling and brightening as it absorbed the swamp's moisture. Underground, air pockets formed microtunnels where future organisms might hide.
By the end of the day, the first fungal strands emerged, delicate but unstoppable.
The springtails immediately converged, feeding aggressively on the rising fungal bloom. Warmth triggered vapor trails, painting ghost-like wisps across the miniature marsh. Sedge roots pushed deeper, stabilizing the wet substrate and shaping the swamp's structure. By nightfall, the swamp had transformed, alive, shifting, preparing for the days ahead. On day 21, trapped gases rose from the mud, hinting the swamp microbiome was shifting dramatically.
Microbial blooms expanded upward, forming a cloudy veil that slowly transformed the tank's entire chemistry.
Tiny larvae emerged among tangled roots, feeding on detritus accumulating from decaying swamp vegetation. A thin moss sheet began spreading across the surface, absorbing moisture and stabilizing unstable soil pockets. Detritivores accelerated decomposition, shredding fallen leaves that fueled nutrient loops within the swamp. Algae surged unexpectedly, tinting the water green and shifting oxygen levels toward unstable extremes.
By day 27, the swamp divided into layers, oxygenated topwaters and dark anaerobic depths. Worms ventured deeper, carving channels that briefly pushed oxygen downward before collapsing again. Small snails appeared near the glass, steadily consuming algae and revealing clear viewing windows.
Morning condensation thickened the swamp's atmosphere, creating fog that refracted faint beams of filtered light. Predatory microhunters emerged, rapidly thinning larval populations and altering the food chain's early balance. Fungal networks colonized rotting bark, digesting cellulose and releasing nutrients back into circulation.
Floating plants multiplied, shading lower levels and pushing the swamp ecosystem into competitive light scarcity.
Hydrostatic pressure fractured compacted soil, forming pockets where gases and microbes rapidly accumulated. New aquatic insects arrived, weaving quickly through submerged roots in search of micro-prey. By day 36, light penetration dropped sharply, pushing the entire swamp toward oxygen stress. In darkness, bioluminescent microbes faintly glowed, marking chemical reactions deep within the swamp.
Plants stretched desperately upward, adapting quickly to the sudden lack of direct sunlight.
A minor soil collapse unleashed a detritus cloud, destabilizing visibility and suffocating smaller organisms. As dusk settled, the swamp briefly stabilized, masking deeper conflicts growing beneath the surface. New predators roamed the flooded zone, shifting the delicate balance inside the sealed swamp. Tadpoles gather in swarms, feeding relentlessly on algae that once dominated the tank. The moss accelerates growth, forming a dense mat that reshapes the tank's microclimate. Mosquito larvae pulse rhythmically, filtering nutrients from the warm, stagnant water. A dragonfly nymph strikes with lethal speed, turning the calm pool into a battlefield. Each attack clouds the water, creating a dust storm of decomposing organic matter. Fungal webs quietly colonize decaying leaves, recycling nutrients back into the swamp.
Algae bloom again, releasing oxygen that temperately boosts life across the tank.
Hidden detritivores rise from the mud, breaking down organic sludge at the bottom. Amphipods surge in number, grazing aggressively on leftover waste. Predators intensify their hunts, thinning the growing amphipod population.
Windless yet dynamic, pollen drifts across the sealed swamp like shimmering dust.
Leaf layers break down faster now, as microbial life reaches full efficiency.
Evaporation lowers the water level, tightening living space for aquatic creatures.
Snails scrub every reachable surface, turning excess algae into energy. Above the swamp, spiders expand their territory, preparing traps for airborne prey.
Condensation thickens again, recycling water back into the micro-ecosystem.
A beetle larva digs deeper, carving tunnels that aerate the swamp's compacted soil. Tadpoles enter metamorphosis, their tiny limbs signaling rapid transformation.
The first frogs rise from the water, claiming the moss as newly discovered land.
Hidden bacteria colonies surge upward, forming new pockets of gas beneath the swamp floor.
Mosquito larvae twist rapidly, feeding on drifting debris as their numbers climb.
A lone water beetle stalks beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect ambush moment. A rapid algae bloom expands, threatening to overwhelm oxygen levels inside the tank. The tadpoles dart in coordinated bursts, avoiding shadowy predators moving nearby. Fungal networks weave deeper into rotting wood, accelerating decomposition across the swamp.
A water spider skims effortlessly, its eyes tracking every movement below the surface.
A dragonfly nymph emerges from the darkness, ready to strike at passing larvae. Aquatic plants stretch upward, absorbing every photon filtering through the glass walls. The beetle larva tunnels relentlessly, destabilizing a delicate section of the swamp floor. A dense worm colony emerges, aerating the mud and transforming nutrient flow.
A carnivorous plant tightens shut, capturing its first insect in days. Mosquito pupae twitch rapidly, signaling an imminent wave of new adults.
Methane pockets burst through the mud, shifting the entire swamp microclimate.
Tiny frogs leap from leaf to leaf, claiming higher territory as predators spread.
Decomposer insects swarm, breaking down organic waste faster than before.
The dragonfly nymph lunges, capturing an unsuspecting tadpole in a single motion. A new algae film coats the glass, altering the tank's internal light balance.
Newborn mosquitoes swarm upward, filling the air layer with restless motion.
A large beetle emerges from hiding, reshaping the predator hierarchy inside the swamp. Day 81. Beetle larvae surface urgently, signaling an unexpected shift in this enclosed swamp environment. By day 82, a lone mosquito stabilizes on moss, conserving energy while scouting vital moisture pockets. Day 83 reveals shrimp clustering beneath roots, their synchronized movement filtering microparticles efficiently. At day 84, a damselfly nymph positions itself perfectly, awaiting the slightest vibration from passing prey.
Day 85. Decomposing leaves erupt with fungal threads, accelerating nutrient recycling throughout the microswamp.
By day 86, water mites surge across the shallows, aggressively expanding their micro-territories.
Day 87.
Young frogs rest atop moss, their lungs strengthening steadily within this evolving ecosystem.
On day 88, a dragonfly forces itself free, unfolding fragile wings in a critical metamorphic moment.
Day 89. Disturbed sediment reveals buried microfauna, awakening organisms absent since early tank development.
Day 90. Larvae face off under roots, competition intensifying as prey density sharply declines. By day 91, bacterial films expand rapidly, hinting at oxygen stress forming across shallow waters.
Day 92. Tadpoles swarm erratically, their rapid bursts suggesting a response to unseen underwater pressure.
Day 93. Hydrated moss spreads smoothly, stabilizing moisture levels during intensified evaporation cycles.
By day 94, a predatory worm emerges, its lightning strike removing small larvae instantly.
Day 95. Algae bloom thickens visibly, restricting light penetration for deeper organisms relying on clarity.
Day 96. The first froglet climbs a log, marking a significant developmental milestone for the swamp colony.
Day 97. A beetle prowls the litter, its sharpened mandibles calibrated for precise nighttime hunting. Day 98. Water withdrawal exposes cracked terrain, compressing habitat space for dozens of dependent species.
Day 99. A lone predator claims the final damp corner, pressuring weaker species into collapse.
Day 100. The swamp reaches fragile equilibrium, every organism reshaped by 100 days of confinement.